Good afternoon, and welcome to Straight Talking with Kelly, where real conversations happen. This is where you will meet the most intelligent, creative, and talented people that come to share tips, resources, and knowledge on various topics. Today, I have my guests come from a magnitude of industries that include education, music, television, theater, mental health, community advocates, and much more. Today I have with me Michael Wagner, who is the founder of Promotions West, a communication firm. Before I introduce you to Michael, I'd like to tell you a little bit about his background. Michael is the founder of Promotions West, which is a communications firm specializing in public relations, social media, corporate project management, program evaluation, campaign development, media relations, strategic planning. In a nutshell, he helps corporations and community-based organizations to frame their messages, promote their brands, and obtain positive visibility. You do a lot, Mr. Wagner. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Kelly. It's such a pleasure to be here with you.
Well, I think we're going to have a really good time because we have so much to talk about. So before we get into how Communicate Your Promotions West has helped corporate and community-based organizations, I would actually like to walk down memory lane with you. I met you in the early 90s when I was a receptionist at KKSF Radio. I was working there with Terry Magnet, who is a very dear friend of yours, who at the time was an account executive there. He would come up to my desk and go, "Oh, you have to meet Michael. You two are going to do so much together." And I was like, "Who is this Michael? I couldn't wait to meet you." And lo and behold, when we met, the magic just hit. I mean, we've been flying ever since. Think of all of the things we've done together. I know, I guess kind of in the later years, what we've done, I was one of your instructors that taught financial literacy when we did the MoneyWise program through Capital One and Consumer Action. I know that we did, I'm trying to think of some of the things that we did. The Life Reimagined with AARP, where I actually became a state volunteer with you. And you were actually on the board with me with San Francisco State Hospitality, the management program, doing PR. I mean, so it just goes on and on and on. You were one of my fundraisers for the Prime and Prep culinary program at the Bayview YMCA. What can you think of? Because I know there's more, but I don't know. It's just been a wonderful time.
My biggest memory is of you at KKSF. And I thought, who is this woman who is so intelligent, who is sitting here pretending she's got something else going on? That was
Absolutely.
my memory. And Terry, of course, kept saying, "You have to meet Kelly. She's going to do this. She's going to do this in the world." And it was actually him who kept pushing me to do something for the community and to create Promotions West, because community groups, especially African-American organizations, were not being represented well. No one wanted to work with them. And I thought, I can't do that. And he goes, "You and Kelly are going to be sensational together." And I said, "She's not interested." He goes, "Oh, you wait and see when she really busts out." And you did.
Well, it was funny because you're right. When I was working as the receptionist at KKSF, I was also, as soon as I would hit that button at night to go off work, to leave the job, I was freelancing as a writer for the Sun Reporter newspaper. I was working with the Plant Recording Studio. This is when I started getting into the music industry. So I was doing so many different things. And then I was also working on my self-esteem programs that I was actually doing out in the community, helping young girls with my program, Dressing Up from the Inside Out. It's just, that job allowed me the flexibility to be able to do some of the wonderful things after I hit that button on off at 5 o'clock. So let's talk a little bit about, go ahead. What were you going to say?
You just reminded me of something even years before that. When we connected, it was when I worked for Tobacco Free Bay Area.
Oh, yes.
I had never heard the word self-esteem. And you came to this youth camp, which was for a week. And I used to have hair until that time. And you knocked the socks off of those teenagers. about self-esteem, and you taught my entire staff about self-esteem. And so you really changed our lives. So I totally forgot that. And it was fun too.
It was a wonderful time. And actually, one of my little cousins was there, and she was so moved and touched by the fact that that's my cousin up there talking about this stuff. It was amazing. So I'll never forget that. You're right. And I had forgotten about it. So, Michael, tell me, where were you born and raised, and what schools did you attend?
I was actually born in the South. I was born in Houston, Texas, and my parents were from New Orleans. And so still feel like I grew up in New Orleans because they would ship us off there every school holiday, every summer, because my mom had 13 brothers and sisters, if you can imagine. So I thought life was a party because you were always being fed and teased, and the laughter was going on, which reminds me today of the importance of family and the love that exists. And so we ended up being in Houston, where I went to high school there. Um, Left Houston because it was unheard of to do such a thing. And I was a bad little boy and forged my mother's name to a student loan and went off to the University of Dallas. When she found out, she says, all right, you have two choices. You can become what I want you to become, or I'm calling and filing a report of fraud. So I said, what do you want me to be? She said, a preacher, or I fell on the floor screaming, or a teacher.
Oh,
And I
okay.
said, I'll be a teacher. I don't want to go to jail. So this is when I majored in education. And soon after, I think after 2 years, I ended up doing a year abroad and refused to come home, and she threatened me again. And then I returned to Houston and went to a Black university, got my degree at Texas Southern University,
Oh, okay.
with the Black
Wow.
students, and
What a
majored in
story.
education.
I would have loved to have met your mom. Now, you ended up in San Francisco. I want you to tell me about that. And now you're down under. So right now you're talking to me from Australia. Hi.
That's
And so
right.
for you, it's morning time. And for me, it's mid afternoon,
That's
late
right.
afternoon. So how did you get
And
to San Francisco?
well, after I finished college in Houston, I knew I didn't want to stay there. And we were living in one of the worst areas in Houston. And I think it still is. It was called Bloody Five. So that tells you a lot. Bloody Five. And so I decided I wanted to do something different. So I started looking for work. And my sister had moved to uh, the Bay Area. And so she sent me a job description, a job opening. And it was for a teacher. And believe it or not, it was with the Black Panther School
Wow.
in Oakland.
Wow.
And what I thought, and this is the truth, this is how naive and silly I was. I thought it was a zoo, and I was going to be teaching animals, panthers. This is no lie. So I arrived, and I mean, there were people. I wish I would have been more intelligent and aware, but I was naive. Uh, Newton was there. He was in charge of the school. Erica Huggins, and just a string of other people were all around, and they were just like taking care of this little big-headed boy and being really nice. And I didn't know who they were, but it was the best school I ever taught at. It was an all-Black school, and there were two teachers to every 15 kids. I'm still friends with the teacher that co-partnered with me. She lives in Maryland. This shaped me for what I wanted to do in terms of education and being involved with communities, because I've never, ever again seen anything so well done and so organized. It was a long day. It was 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. because you ate with the kids for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and it was a family. And I had never seen that before. So that's what really brought me.
And you know, the interesting fact about that, listening to that, you were in a part of history
And didn't know it.
and didn't know it. Isn't that amazing? Now, and so the simple fact that you started teaching there, I know that you also have a very extensive background with further teaching with San Francisco State. So talk about that in your public relations teaching and how it all led to the creation of Promotions West.
And in between that, I moved into broadcasting. Be-
Right, you were,
I,
yes.
yeah, when I left teaching, because I think there was something called Proposition 13, where all the new teachers were laid off. I can't even remember what Prop 13 was. And so I ended up taking a series of jobs, and I became a secretary for an agency in downtown Oakland. And the woman came to me and said, my boss, a Black woman, and said, there's something about you, you don't belong here. And I thought, what's wrong with me? I can type. And so she said, no, I have another place that I want you to go. I have a friend who works at KSFO Radio. Her name is Julia Hare. Have you heard of her? And I said, no, is she a rabbit or something? Hare. And so she took me there and I met her, and she was hard on me, and she drilled me and looked at my writing and said, your writing is good, but you're not writing for the ear. You need to write for the ear. And she gave me a project to work on as part of the interview. She took my paper, snatched it out my hand, and went on air and did the news. And I was sitting there thinking, what just happened? And she said, I'll give you a call in 6 weeks. Goodbye. And I ended up getting the job there. I worked there for a number of years, and then I wanted to do teaching as well. And so she goes, you could do whatever you want, as long as you just keep doing it. So I was doing, as you were, 100 different things. And I ended up doing middle school, and I worked at a Catholic school where I partied hard with the nuns, and then I went into San Francisco State and started teaching marketing and public relations. And I really, really loved it in the interaction of the students.
And then how did you get into creating Promotions West? What led to that?
Promotions West was very interesting. It's about 20 years old now. And what I started seeing was that community-based organizations, and especially of color, were being ignored by white advertisers and people doing marketing, or they wanted to charge them a fortune just to work
Yes.
with them. And so I realized there was an opening there. And so the moment I mentioned it, people just grabbed me. And I realized how easy it was to actually promote the good work that they're doing. And that way they could get more funding for the community. And that's really how I got started. And after about 10 years, other organizations started seeing that, and they wanted to work with Black and Latino agencies, not to really help them, but to find the money, to get the money, and not teach them how to do it. I wanted to teach people how to actually do marketing and do it for themselves, so they wouldn't have to spend a ton of money paying me, throughout the whole program, that I would be able to leave something for them. Sort of like that teach a person to fish
Well, you
concept.
know what? It's very similar to the program that I work with you on, where you had us go out to train the trainers, to train the people in the community organizations how to teach financial literacy to their people. So
Mhm.
I did that with the executive directors, trained them to go out to work with their constituents. Now, one of the things that I know, I remember some of your really important campaigns because some of them were on buses. The advertisements were on buses, on banners all across the city. And what comes to mind, and I'd like for you to talk about, is your work with the HIV/AIDS community, the aging community, with especially as it deals with people of color in the aging community. Because I think about that little lady with the little hat on one of the bus things you had, and then also, lastly, your work with the Obama administration. And I definitely want you to talk about, when you talk about the Obama administration, that process that you went through to get in, because I thought that was fascinating. So start off first with the HIV. Talk to us about that.
The HIV, I'd worked in HIV for many years since the very beginning. And I, this is interesting to me, because the reason I became such a fighter in the field, especially for Black people, because I worked at the San Francisco AIDS Foundation, where they refused to let me do outreach to people of color. And people laugh now and go, "You're making it up," but I'm not. They said that Black people and Latino people and Asian people did not contract AIDS, and that they were immune to it. And I said, how could that be when they're all sleeping with each other? And so I was sort of held under a box for many years. And then I left and started working with other community-based organizations. I've been with a number of health departments, San Francisco, Contra Costa, Alameda County, and it's very interesting. And I know this program is not about racism and discrimination, but the racism that exists even today in organizations that are providing care to people of color is frustrating to me. And throughout my entire life, I've been fighting against that. But with all of that said, I managed to do some really exciting and fun campaigns. The woman with Miss Ellie Josephine was a woman that I found who was outrageous. And we developed this campaign, and I had to put my business on the line for that because I was told that we don't want this kind of campaign. We want a campaign of two Black men holding hands. This was many years ago. And so I went to the community and conducted 15 or 18 focus groups with Black people. And they said, that's not what we want to see. We want to see a grandmother actually telling us, like old grandmothers used to do. And I said, what about a grandfather? They said, don't make us hit you in the face, grandmother. So I found this woman, Josephine, and she came for a photo shoot, 5 minutes photo shoot. She was already dressed with the hat and the colors and everything.
Exactly.
And the campaign became her. She took to 3rd Street in the Bayview, started singing in the streets, preaching about it, signing autographs. I said, you Miss Ellie is just a fictional figure. She goes, shut up, boy. And the campaign was so successful just to educate people about what it was, because we weren't getting the correct information. It has been so many. We did one with dogs. That was one of my favorite ones, Dogs Are Talking. And it was designed to do dogs 1 year, cats the 2nd year, because people are really attached to their pets. They will spend $1 million on pet clothes and treats. Yeah. This one was really well done. And for years, I would go through San Francisco and dogs would come running after me because I used to always have treats in my bag. And I thought, what dog is this? And the people, they'd be dragging the people to me. But it was just, it's so incredible, Kelly, when you listen to what the community wants and you can put it into a campaign and the community supports it because they're a part of it and they help to create it. And that's the biggest message of Promotions West, is getting people to listen to what you have to say and then repeat it to them and get them involved. That's simple.
Talk about the aging communities. What kind of work did you do there?
The aging, I've always been interested in aging, even as a little kid, because it was mandatory by my mother that we spend time with every old person in the community, or elder. And I would say, why do I have to spend time with that old woman or that old man? And of course, if you had a mother like mine, this is what you saw coming toward you, was that hand.
Old school.
Old school. And so I got involved, I think initially with AARP, of actually doing the regional communication kind of stuff there and educating communities about what was available and how you can improve your life as an elder in a community. But also we worked with young people in college to team up with the old elderly people so that they could work together. It was a great experience of teaching people how to plan for retirement, but just on how to be healthy and enjoy life.
That was Life Reimagined, wasn't it?
That was Life Reimagined.
Life Reimagined. That was such a wonderful program of going out in communities. I loved when I went out to do that program. And like you said, I didn't only do it with older people, I also did it with the young people, because young people don't have a clue sometimes about realizing that one day they are going to get older.
But that was the greatest part. It was just an experiment that I did, and I reported it back to them on how successful it was. I did it with college kids, and then I decided to do it with high school kids.
Mm-hmm.
And then I took a chance and did it in an elementary schoolroom. And the parents started calling, and I thought I was in trouble. And the principal said, "You have to come in." Yeah, I was very nervous. And the parents said, "What did you do to our 7 and 8-year-old kids? Because now they're planning to become a doctor, to become a teacher, to
Isn't that
become
beautiful?
a." And I said, "Oh my God, this could work." So it's interesting because it could work beyond 55 plus. It could work right at the very beginning of
As it
life.
should. As it should, really.
It
As it
really could.
should. So now, you know what, as we were talking, you know what I thought about? What was very instrumental in my life from you is when you called me and says, hey, the American Heart Association is looking for a community site director for Heart in the Black community. And I got so excited. I'm like, yes. And it was because of you, I ended up getting that job there and did some incredible work for the Heart Association for, I don't remember, I think about 5, 6, 7 years or something like that.
Oh my God.
And so even like my assistant, Antoinette, she and I are still, we're actually best friends now, very close friends. And, the day that I walked in, because she was like, oh, I got to tell Jarvis. Remember, Jarvis was the ED. You have to hire her. And as soon as I get there, you leave. You stop working there because what did you do there? You were communications director too, right?
I was, and it was one of the jobs to this day that I still loved and wished I would have stayed. I learned so much about communications. And so
Yeah.
it was a great stepping stone. It was a great organization.
Yeah, it was I love working for the Heart Association, doing the work that I did. So now the third major campaign that you did led you to the Obama administration. I remember when you told me, Kelly, I'm going to go to Washington. And I said, you doing what? I said, no, you're not. I didn't believe you. So talk
I
to
couldn't
me
believe
about that because that was funny.
this was something I had never ever dreamed of doing or never thought I could do it. And this is what I like to tell young people: you can do anything you want if you decide. But I never wanted to. And so I was just in a meeting one day in San Francisco at an ad agency. For whatever reason, I don't know what I was doing there. And there was a woman there who spotted me and said, "You want to grab a cup of coffee or something to eat?" And I said, "Sure." And she said, "I hated you most of my life." And I said, "Well, what did I do to you?" And she said, "You didn't do anything to me." She goes, "I was so sick of getting all of your mail at KSFO once you left." She goes, "I took your position there and I only got mail and people only called for you." And then she started laughing because I thought she was angry. And she goes, "I'm working in DC right now with the Obama administration." And she goes, "Would you like to come to DC and work on a campaign for you?" And I said, "Yeah, whatever." I thought she was joking. I could care less. And she goes, "Are you serious?" And I said, "Of course. Don't I look serious?" And I fell on the floor laughing. So she said, "All right, I'm going to start the paperwork." Kelly, she did start the paperwork, but I had forgotten all about it. Within 3 or 4 months, she called and said, are you ready?" I said, "Ready for what?" She said, "To come to DC." I said, "To visit?" She said, "No, your position is available with the Office of National Drug Control Policy. You're going to be leading a youth campaign called Above the Influence around drugs, getting kids off of drugs and making them the spokespeople." I thought, I don't know about all that. I don't know if I could do that. She goes, "Boy, you better get ready because if you say no, they're going to investigate you. The CIA and the FBI are going to investigate you because you must be hiding something. So get your ducks in order and do not lie when you come for these long interviews because we've already lost 2 people." So that's how that all happened. I didn't know what Office of National Drug Control Policy was. I had never been to DC. I was terrified. And I wandered around the streets trying to find the building. And the first thing someone said to me was, when I found the building going in, a woman said, "Excuse me, are you from California or Seattle or somewhere?" And I said, "Why?" She goes, "Because you're all you have all these winter clothes on. It's only 50 degrees here. So you must be from the West Coast. And I
Uh,
said, I am. So she took me in. Karma is really interesting, Kelly. Just very quick. I went in into my boss. I told her who helped me to get into the building, and she goes, "Oh my God, that woman hates me, and she is in charge of everything. So if she likes you, you got it made." And it was true.
okay.
It
Oh,
was
wow.
really true.
Wow. And I remember I'd get phone calls from you and we'd talk, you would tell me what it was like being in Washington. And then you'd go back and forth. I know you'd come
Yes,
back and
I did
forth,
it.
you'd come home. And then I said, oh my God, I wonder if he gonna move to Washington, but you ended up in Australia. So it's like,
I
go
know.
figure, right? Wow.
So I went
That's,
back and forth for about 3.5 years.
yeah, I remember that. So now tell me, out of all the stuff that you have done, what has been the most memorable project that you've worked on?
I think one of the most memorable ones that I think about actually a lot is the program that you worked on with uh, the YMCA. I still look at pictures of the kids. I remember their faces because they were young enough and honest enough to tell me the
Hmm.
truth whenever we would get together.
Hmm.
And it was just amazing. I would watch you, how you would see the potential in each of those kids, each of those young people. And I could see it. And I thought, there's something wrong with me and Kelly. We shouldn't be able to see how incredible people are because you don't want to say anything. But that program really changed my life because I watched you over the years work to make it happen. And it wasn't even my program, but I felt like I was a part of it. And I saw the love that you provided and how you changed the lives of so many young people who probably didn't have any goals in life or what they wanted to do, if they could even get out of their communities. And I remember so many stories that went with that prime and prep. And you worked on it for years. I mean, people think you just pulled it out of a hat, but that was a number of years.
Yeah, yeah. It took me 8 years to number one, get it up and running. And then once I did get it going, it was a labor of love and it was my gift to the community. That's how I always knew that I wouldn't be there no more than 5 years. And I literally left at the 5 year mark. And so, in hindsight, I wish that I would have been able to share with them what I thought the next steps would be, but that didn't happen. It didn't happen. And I think it was a missed point on their behalf to not make it happen, because the program has so much potential to have been bigger than what it actually really is. Even now, they did replicate it into a couple of other Ys, but at the same time, it was a group effort. I thank the Bayview YMCA for allowing me to even bring the program there. When I think about Gina Firmer, who actually hired me, it was just a wonderful thing. She had that vision. She saw what the potential of that program was. And then, of course, she leaves once I get there. So it's like, you know what? I surely wish she had stayed. But I'm grateful to all of the people that I worked with there and all of my contacts that I brought in with me. They were wonderful. The Casey Newberger, I couldn't have did that without Casey. Whenever I think of Prime and Prep, I said Prime and Prep was the Casey and Kelly show. So, and I'm just so glad that it meant that much to you, because you, Jackie, and all of you guys, I couldn't have done it without you. David Shaw. I mean, you guys were not only my rah-rah team, but you guys did fundraising for me. You showed up at every event, and especially you. I knew you was going to come to the Iron Chef to eat. I knew you'd be there, but yeah, so I appreciate you acknowledging that.
You know what,
But you,
Kelly?
huh?
One of the things that I've learned from you and from that experience is that we can go in with our goals, and whatever happens along the way is a push, not to hurt us, but a push so we can get on and do our thing even
Yeah.
better.
Oh
And
yeah.
it's their loss.
Oh
It's their
yeah.
loss. And I don't even look back anymore.
Well, I don't even think it's their loss. I think it was their gain because they were left with something. They were left with something that can continue to grow and be phenomenal. That's how
Hmm.
I see it. I really believe that it still could be wonderful.
There's the potential if they know
Yeah,
how to do it.
yeah. Now, you have been in PR for so many years. Share a few I want you to share a few ways in which it has changed over the years and where it's going, because with all this social media and it's different. So how different is it? And what's different about it?
It's That's such a great question because on certain days I think it's completely different, and most days I think that it's just like having leftovers. It's
Mm,
being reheated. And what sort of the business does is they change the name of terms so that people get confused, and then they feel like they're being innovative. And a good example of that is, remember we used to call it community outreach.
yes.
Then they changed the name, and people would look at you, especially younger people would look at you like, what is that? That's
Uh-huh.
community engagement. It's
Ah,
exactly the same
same
thing.
thing.
And so what I've been learning from my study of marketing and public relations is that like every 5, 10 years, you go in and you mix things up and change the names. The meanings stay the same. But if you're not on the cutting edge, then you don't know what they are. But social media has had a huge impact on the field. And the great part about it is you can do a lot with media relations through social media without spending a lot of money. And it's just
Okay.
learning how to promote things that way. The companies will try to come after you. Hey, why don't you spend $1,000 a month on Facebook for advertising? Who's going to see it?
Mm-hmm.
Who's going to be reached? When I've been learning that the number one marketing technique is word of mouth, or WOM. Word of mouth is at the very top. People listen to what you're saying. If you told me, sure, I got my hair done at so and so, and if I had hair, I would be saying, oh, what's the name? What's the name of that stylist?
Uh-huh.
What do you think
Uh-huh.
about this? Look,
Yeah.
and then I'll tell several people, and it's called contagious marketing, and that's what I've been learning. Uh, Preparing contagious content, and we all make decisions by what people think, not anymore by what advertisers tell us, because advertisers will tell us that if you are an amazing person and you want to be seen as this incredible person, then you're going to buy a Mercedes. But
No, go ahead.
go ahead.
Well, you know
But
what it made me think of? Remember back in the day that Breck commercial? When they go, you tell one person and she tells one person, and then by the time they finished, the screen was filled with all of these people telling one person. So when you were saying that, my head started spinning, going, "That's that Breck commercial." Or I think it was Breck.
yes,
I don't remember. It was some shampoo commercial. So yeah.
yes,
So no, I
it,
think you're absolutely right that it's the same, but somatics.
yes, it's exactly the same. But you can be very, very more creative now and more direct in your messages. And that's what's very different. And this is something that we, including you, we used to all talk about years and years ago, especially with uh, Black community organizations and things, of what do you want to do? What's the best way? Because the people that are coming in, they don't really know. They don't know how to do it. They have ideas. I'm going to do this big campaign for you. I'm going to put it on buses. I'm going to put it here. It's like, but do our people ride buses? Do our people drive? Are they going to be looking at billboards? Do they have time to stop and look up? And things like that. And so I think what I've always wanted to do is just to get communities to focus on themselves and be a
Know your
part of it and
audience,
drive
babe.
it.
So that's what you're saying. Basically, know your audience. How do you target to this particular group? Yeah, because every group is different. Every
Very
group,
different.
and so I guess, it. So when you think about, as I'm thinking about that, what kind of advice would you give to up and coming PR young people? What should they be aware of?
I think the biggest advice I would give them is to use the 2 ears.
Mm.
One is for listening, one is for hearing what is not being said, and this is for keeping closed.
Mhm.
Because what I usually see is that people are, I don't want to say full of themselves, but they feel like they know more than the audience that they're talking to, and they want to tell them what to do.
Yeah.
And it's just, it's a really, I always call it, it's called WAIT, WAIT. Why am I talking?
Mm.
Is what I
Nice.
get
I
people
like
to
that.
ask.
I like that. That's cool.
And so, I mean, and like when I meet with clients, they feel like they can't say things to me. And I have to say, listen, I want to hear everything that you have to say. And then I repeat it to them.
Yeah.
And then I ask questions like, how would I reach your audience? Where do they go? Where do they get information? And they're so excited. And they tell me, I said, what colors does your community like? Those are the colors that we will include in campaigns. Don't look at me to tell you, I'm just here to support you.
When I teach, I teach personal styling at City College at San Francisco. And one of the things I tell the students as image consultants, because you have these programs where they pull out something and go, put this on. Oh, she looks great in that. No, you need to find out information about your client. Have an assessment with them. What is their lifestyle? What are they trying to achieve? What do they want to see happen? Talk to people, like you said, find out what it is they want. And so I think that's good for you to be able to give that kind of advice to young people. I like the ear for listening, one for hearing, and keeping this closed. What about the eyes? What are you doing with the eyes? Observing,
I
right?
Yes, observing the eye contact is extremely important because what most people will think if you don't have eye contact with them is that you're not interested in what they're saying or you're
Yeah,
thinking about something else or
yeah.
sitting like this
Tight.
means that yes. And I think we practiced a lot of this when we were doing the financial literacy because I always wanted two people doing the facilitation because one is talking, one is watching and making eye contact with people, touching them on the shoulder as you're walking by, just letting them know they are part of this and that we're doing it for them. And you were really good at it.
I thought we
I
worked
love those
well as a
times.
team. Well, we were, especially when we were in Arizona. We had a
Oh,
ball. I mean, we traveled with it. So, yeah, I think that, but you know what? I think what made it work is that we were both educators and we love to teach. And it comes across when we're working, whether it's with youth, whether it's with adults, we like what we do. So
and we
I think
love
that's,
people.
yeah, that makes a difference. And speaking of that, I would like for you to tell me three people that have inspired you. And I know you got a list, but I just really want you to think of three. And you actually mentioned one of them earlier
I
when
think
you were at the
Julia
radio
Hare was
station.
one.
Yes,
Yes.
exactly. I knew she was going to be hot on top on the list.
I mean, she was a tough woman, but
Julia Hare.
there's not a day that I don't think of a lesson that she taught me because she kicked my butt and
Hmm.
taught me things that as I started to grow up, I thought, wait a minute, this can't be real. And a couple of things that she taught me, she goes, don't you ever leave a job without hiring someone who looks like you.
Ooh, hush your
And
mouth. Yes.
I thought, okay. She taught me how to dress, things to put on because I was a mess, let me tell you.
That's
Um,
hard to believe because you dress impeccably.
I was a mess.
I don't
She
believe
taught me
that.
how to actually improve my writing because my writing was more educational. It was school. She goes, you need to write for the ear. Nobody wants to listen to that stuff. It's too correct. And I thought, oh, okay, Julia. And she taught me not to be scared. Kelly, I was terrified to do interviews and I wouldn't do them if she wasn't with me. And then she would sneak away and I would be frightened, totally frightened. But I think the biggest lesson she taught me was how to deal with the things that are happening today around discrimination and racism. And it's hard. Sometimes I'm shocked to think that the same things that people were going through when I was a little boy, they're actually going through it now. Things haven't changed a lot. And so she taught me that. She's one. Wow. Two others, huh?
Yes.
You really got me off guard there. Let me think. Wow. There is a man that we worked with. I don't know if you remember him. He was working for Capital One. We are still connected. And I used to just watch him during that whole process of how good he was at running things and facilitating meetings. And he was just an inspiration. His name
What's
is
his
Bert
name?
Davis. He's amazing. A
What is his
tall
name?
black man.
What is his
Bert
name?
Davis.
Bert
Bert
Davis. Okay.
Davis. Tall black man, shaved head, still teases me to this day. Uh, he was just incredible. Who was another one? Wow, there's so many. Oh, okay, Kelly. I'm gonna throw you in there because you had an impression. No, it's true. You've had an impression on my life and the number of people that you pulled in and out of my life. And I think you've really had an impact. I thought about you this morning because you introduced me to ready
Yeah.
beauty control.
Oh my, oh, wow, you were one of
Baby,
my consultants. Yes.
baby. I missed that. And I used the skills you taught me every single day before I leave this house so nobody is screaming for fear when they see this monster face coming toward them. So I know how to do it.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And I miss beauty control too. Right now, I'm with Color Me Beautiful, and I really haven't started promoting it or selling it yet because I'm still trying the products and deciding if this is something that I believe in. I like them, but they're not beauty control by no means. I miss beauty
Beauty
control.
control. Beauty
Man, they have the
control.
best skincare. Oh my God, they have the best skincare in the world.
Well, it's because of you and beauty control. You set me up before I moved from San Francisco.
Uh-huh.
I started freelancing with Dr. Oh, I can't even think of his name right now, a cosmetic company. And one of our neighbors was working there. She goes, I think you'd be great working in all the malls and things. And I said, I'm into skincare. I don't know. Somebody be looking like a Halloween mask if I do it. She goes, no, it's more than that. It's the personality and what you know about how a woman looks. It is because of you. And I was really successful there. I loved it. But beauty control changed my life.
Oh, that's nice to hear. Like I said, Color Me Beautiful, I like it. My skin is still in good shape, so it must be working.
I
So it's
still have a
not,
couple of pieces.
I do too.
I
And you
still,
know what? And that's why I haven't been able to promote Color Me Beautiful yet, because I'm still holding on to my last drop of that. And like Sylvia Montgomery, I actually want to interview her too, because
Sylvia.
Sylvia was under me as a consultant with beauty control, and now I'm under her with Color Me Beautiful. So she got me into that. So it's, we're going back and forth. She feels the same way as I do about missing beauty control, but she's actually making Color Me Beautiful work. She's embraced it because she's been doing it much longer than I have. And I still, I'll have to send you a link so you can look at some of my products
Okay, because
and try
I'll
them
be
out.
buying them.
Oh, I know you will. And the other thing, listening audience, I know you're probably like, okay, what is Kelly doing? This is a different conversation, but this is where real conversations happen. And this guy here is a part of my family, actually. I've known him for so long. But you were one of my biggest customers buying my baby clothes. I mean, baby showers, you should see the stuff I'm doing now. Oh, the layettes that I'm doing right now, off the hook. I'm going to have to send you pictures. Right now, I do like this baby jacket with the pants to match, the quilted blanket, the two double-sided waterproof bibs. Phenomenal. You would love it. So
I need to start ordering because there's something about me. I think pregnant women are attached to me,
they know they're
and I
going to
know
get a present. They know they're going to get a present from you and a good one.
a good present. I mean, people are still using. One woman just wrote me. Her little boy is 5 now. She goes, he's still using that bath towel and won't give it up. That's it.
Well, because I make them big enough where they can grow into it. That is beautiful. Now, the other question I want to ask you that's probably going to throw you for a loop, but let me go back to the three people that have inspired you. That was Julia Hare, And I remember her and her husband worked together, and they have so many wonderful books that they've written.
Yes,
You
yes.
know, I can't think of the names of them right now at the top of my head, but they had a rich collection of books. Dr. Nathan Hare and Julia Hare. And then, of course, your other person was Bert Davis. And then, of course, me, which is, wow, you know, it's nice to be on people's lists. So thank you for that. Now, what I would like for you to think about is that 9-year-old Michael Wagner, 9 years old. What would he say to the grown man now?
I think that little boy would say, expand your horizon.
Mm,
You can do anything you want to do once you put your mind to it. Um, and let go of any judgment you may have against yourself first
nice.
and against anyone else.
Wow, that's beautiful. That is beautiful, you know, and it was interesting because I'm watching you and you knew exactly what you wanted to say. It was like, you know what that little 9-year-old boy would have told you to do. Most people kind of look up in the sky like, oh my God, she didn't threw me for a loop. But I threw you for a loop with the three people. But
Yes,
this
you
one,
did.
yeah, but this one, you were very clear with it. And I think it's because of the path that you have taken. You know, you've let go of all of that fear and all of that other stuff. And, you just embraced who you are as a person. You embraced your skills and your talent. You know what you're capable of. And there's so much more to come.
Yes, yes, we're only just beginning. And
Yeah.
I always tell people that because some people will say, are you going into retirement? It's like retirement is just retiring from one thing to move into
To
another,
start another. Yeah,
to
buddy.
start something else.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, is there anything you would actually like to say or want the listening audience to know? Do you have any upcoming projects? What are you working on?
I am working with a program that's based out of Oakland, and it's called the Right Within Experience. It's a program we got involved in probably almost 2 years ago of actually writing a proposal for funding for it. I had no idea I would still be attached to it,
Okay.
uh, but they won't let me go. And so
Okay.
we've been doing the communications for that. And the Right Within is it's a program around trauma. It's helping communities, especially for right now, African American communities to heal from racial trauma. And how do
Oh,
you do that? It's really hard. And it uses mindfulness a lot. And mindfulness, people go, oh, that's just meditation. But mindfulness is just sort of checking in with yourself and being aware
mm-hmm.
of everything that you're feeling, identifying it, not judging it, because sometimes we can be really judgmental against ourselves and put ourselves down by things that we've heard in the past, and we get scared. It's that fear. And so it's teaching, not so much teaching, it's sort of integrating all of it into our community and helping us to become stronger and more resilient in the things that are happening. And the last 2 years, I'm sure you're aware of it, has been really uh, stressful for a lot of communities with the constant murders and the shootings and beatings and things that are going on. And how do you deal with all of those emotions? With do you punch someone in the face?
Exactly.
What do you do? You want to protect the family and things like that. And so it's hopefully this program is going to help uh, people to have a better understanding and let go and move out of that victim vortex that sometimes we put ourselves in because we've been through so much until and I met a new friend here in Australia and we talk about this. He's Greek and we talk about this and the stories are so similar of how he was treated as a Greek boy growing up in Turkey where they hate the Greeks.
Hmm.
And so we talked about it, and he says, I understand why you're so outgoing. Whenever you walk into a shop, the whole store comes to life and everybody's around you and feeding you food and everything. And I said, well, what is that? He goes, it's part of your protection that you must have learned as a child to avoid the trauma of when you walk into a store, people look at your color and think,
Mhm.
hand on a gun. he or she's going to steal something. And he
Mm-hmm.
goes, that's amazing that you can do that, but how did you get to that level? And I thought, I hadn't even thought about it,
Mm-hmm.
because it was always a survival technique when you walk in, because you felt like the moment you step into an elevator, everyone's grabbing their purses and pulling to the side. And so I would always say, what did you have for lunch? I smell something on you. Is that pastrami? You know, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And he goes, and I thought, this is what people do. But for those who can't do this, what happens to them? And so it's trying to teach people how to survive without letting all of the outside forces destroy their world and destroy their families.
That's huge. That's pretty big. That's big. So that's going to be an important program. So definitely keep me posted on how it's coming about. Um, yeah,
I'm
I
so
think it's
excited.
yeah,
Definitely.
I think it's going to be wonderful. Now, is there a way if people want to find out more or find out how they can help you with it, maybe funders or people that want to participate in some kind of way, how can people reach you?
I think they can either email me, and the email address is Michael, Mikael dot Wagner, Wagner, at gmail.com. They can also go to my website, which is just promotions with the S, west.com,
Okay,
and they can
okay.
reach me that way as well.
Okay, that sounds good. Well, Michael, it has been such a pleasure having you on Straight Talking with Kelly, where real conversations happen. And I think we really had a real meaty conversation today. It was wonderful.
I think you're fantastic. You're a natural at this, and I've had a
Oh, yeah.
ball.
Oh,
I've
yeah.
had about, there's no one else I would get up at 7 a.m. for.
Well, thank you, sir. Yes, and I totally agree about the mindfulness thing, just being aware of everything you say, think, and do. And then, like you said, not call it a name or not put a tag on it. Just observe. When you have one of them negative thoughts, just observe and just think, okay, what was that all about? Because
Yeah.
sometimes that, and then when you start not making it a big deal, it goes away. You stop doing it.
Mm-hmm.
That's what
Mm-hmm.
I've learned with,
Mm-hmm.
with my yoga
Because
practice and all of that. You really learn that when you just observe and not call it a name. And then when you can call it a name and say, oh, I see what you are, you can no longer hurt me or make me feel that way because I know who you are.
that's,
And I know what you're trying to do to me.
that's
See,
it.
this is what I teach in the self-esteem. No, not today, buddy. Yeah. So it is, and what I'm finding
Now,
is that so many people that are even older are still grappling with self-esteem issues. And I just had a recent person on my show that actually talked about his lack of confidence and his self-esteem. And it's like, wow, we really have to be taught how to love ourselves.
yeah, yeah. Now, when I moved to Australia, it took me about 6 months to understand what was happening. I didn't
Mm,
realize I was dealing with trauma. And so I would walk into a shop and I would immediately freak out
okay.
that I couldn't touch anything because it was all of the old memories. And uh, more than once, and I'm not stealing anything.
Wow.
I
And
don't even know
you're
where that came from, Kelly. It just popped out. And they
okay.
looked at me and laughed and said, we know you're not stealing anything. We just want to give you a basket so you can buy more stuff.
You're
And I
thriving
thought,
down there too,
are
aren't
the
you?
policemen here? I was afraid to walk. And I would see police coming and I would freeze in my walk. And they would roll the window down and go, good day, how are you? And I would go, no
Wow.
one cares what color I am.
Yeah. Yeah. That's beautiful.
It's very
So when are you
interesting.
coming back to the States? I know we said goodbye, but now here we are talking again. When are you coming back home? Or I guess that's home now, right? Home is where you are, I guess.
Well, I'm I'm really ready for a visit, but we're not allowed to travel to America yet because of
Okay.
the COVID numbers.
Okay.
And so
Okay.
I can't I can't come. But as soon as things open, yes, yes, I'll be
Okay.
flying back because I
And you
still have a
know
couple
what
of
you,
things. I still need to sell my car.
oh, okay. And that's such a cute little sports car.
It's at Selena's. It's still sitting
Okay.
there. And
Okay.
so I need to sell that. And I really, the hardest part for me is missing my friends. It
Yeah.
really is. You know, online is great, emails is great, but it's nothing like two friends being together and
In
looking at each other and
person.
falling on the floor screaming.
Well, you know, we had them gut busting laughs, so we won't even go there. But you know what we're gonna go eat
Ooh,
when you do come back. You know the first thing we gonna have, right? We don't even have to say it.
you know I'm hungry.
Well, and
I'm
I
always
know what you
hungry. Where we going?
some chow fun.
Oh
Is
yes. And it's not I haven't found a good one yet.
that right? Look, Jackie
I,
came back. I told you Jackie was back, and she first thing she wanted to do was go get her pot stickers, but they were closed. They didn't open until 4. So she's coming over tonight. And so
oh my
because I
God.
wasn't able to cook, we're probably going to go out and I'll make sure that she gets her pot stickers before she leaves.
Oh God.
Yeah,
I love that.
I
There are
know.
some good places here though when you come for a visit.
Well, I saw some of the food you posting, and yeah, it's going to be delightful. I don't know about getting on
Oh,
no plane doing all them hours. I'm just, mm-mm.
I
But who
sleep.
knows? You know what? I never say never, right?
I slept the entire time.
Never say never. Well, give my love to John. Tell him I love
Thank
all of
you.
his beautiful photography that is really behind you. He does incredible work. I feel fortunate that he has actually taken photos of me. I wish I was able to get an update before he left. He kept trying to get me to come and I wouldn't do it, so it's my bad. But I love his artwork. It's in museums here, it's in museums there. It's just he
Yeah.
does beautiful work.
This has
So
been incredible. This has been really great. So thank you so much for taking the time.
absolutely. I had a ball. And like I said, as soon as you get your other program up and running, definitely come back because I would like to let the audience know what you're doing and how that works and how they can, participate in it or benefit from it, whatever, either way. So again, I would like to thank the audience for listening to Straight Talking with Kelly, where real conversations happen. And I'll look forward to seeing you with my next guest. Thank